this short video is just a way for me to talk about my grandparents. My grandma passed away this week, mid-January or early January, and my grandpa died November 2015. They're both my mother's parents. I just wanted to talk about them and share some pictures. Also, my biological father passed away last summer, so it just feels like a lot of people were going away, and I wanted to remember them because they've all been on my mind. So I'll just talk about my grandparents. So their last name was Smith and Hardy Smith. They were Texans at heart, but grew up in Alaska for decades. They went up there and got land, for homesteading, and so I believe they got it for free. And so they went up there basically during the Cold War, I think before it was even a state, when it was a territory. So I found a few pictures. I couldn't find an actual picture of my grandpa, Hardy, but I found this picture of my Uncle Mark. And my grandpa at one point took a lot of pictures and turned them into postcards. And so if you went to Alaska, you could find these postcards. And so this one is of my uncle sitting on the jawbone of a whale. And so in Alaska, they use every single part of the whale. And so this is just one example of that. And I really like this because it's Kotzebue, which is a remote region. And my grandpa was a bush pilot for many, many years after he retired from the Army Air Force, where he was a pilot in World War II. And so I just think mostly of my grandpa's identity as being a pilot. Pilots are very different, have different mindsets, and he was fearless. I wish I could be fearless like that. And so when I remember my grandpa, I always think of his pilot identity and that kind of thing. Every time I go watch airplanes down at DFW, there's a park, Founders Plaza, where you can sit and watch planes land. I think about him, and pilots have such precision in life. It would be so great to have that kind of precision in my own life. He also took a lot of photographs, as did my dad. And so I would like to learn more about digital photography. He was very funny. He spoke his mind to the point of having no filter sometimes. I wish I could speak my mind more. I think I do pretty much. But I admired that about him. He was just, eccentric. That's just the right word to describe my grandpa. And if you knew him, you knew that he was very eccentric and he did his own thing. He was particular and very outspoken. He loved to listen to AM talk radio. He would stay up all night listening to politics on talk radio. So those are just the kind of things that I remember. He was a big reader, and he would make these homemade books out of file folders, and he would Xerox his pictures in black and white or sometimes color, and then annotate them with that little tape where you could type out the letters, and that was the labeling tape. And he would put that in these homemade books and staple them and send them all around to the relatives. And he was a big fan of care packages or gift packages. And it was usually military memorabilia, or it was Alaska memorabilia, one of those two things. And then I want to talk about my grandma too. So when my grandpa was in World War II, they lived in Germany for a little while. So I sometimes I can't tell if these pictures are from Alaska or from Germany. So this is a picture of my grandma Elaine, Doris Elaine Smith. It's a little blurry. Here's another one. I think this one was in Texas. She had thick, dark black hair. So that's my Aunt Allison Lane, who I just found out is living just up the street here in Colleyville with her daughters, who I guess are my cousins. They live really close to me. I have cousins everywhere in Texas. And then here's another one in Kingsland. I posted this on Facebook. These are turkeys, and that's Alice Elaine, the only living sibling from my grandpa's family. And that's also my mom and my Aunt Linda, and some turkeys. So here's another picture of my grandma a little bit later in life. She always looked really thoughtful. And then another picture a little bit later in life. And here's a picture probably from the 80s of my mom and my grandma. So you can see the resemblance. And so what I remember most about my grandma is she was very Southern. She was very proud of her Texas roots, drank Dr. Pepper, iced tea, made chicken and peach cobbler from scratch, always cooking. She was very kind. She was very giving. And she was all about family. And so I just wanted to remember my grandparents. It's always a shock when people pass away, but I'm really grateful for the pictures that I have. I think it's really important to remember. They help trigger memories about people. So I want to remember Hardy and Elaine Smith.